Hello guys, it's B, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a very brief solo queue tips. Very recently I've been playing a lot more solo queue, and I have noticed in abundance that the biggest mistake players are making in solo queue, and I wouldn't even really call it a mistake, the biggest issue with solo queue is the lack of game awareness from a lot of my teammates. And so I'm gonna explain to you guys some basic things so that you have that very essential game awareness that is needed to play solo queue. And I have some gameplay going for you guys so you're not bored and just listening to me talk, but let's get into it. So for starters, one of the really big things I've seen a lot of people ask the developers in a lot of their recent AMAs or like Q&As or just things like that on their forums or on Reddit is, when are we going to get what DBD Mobile got, which is like a little selection of like statements that you can send out to the rest of your team so that you guys are communicating without communicating. It's just like, I think there's like 5 or 6 buttons. It's not like a huge deal. It's just stuff like, I'm going for the unhook, or the killer's coming for me, things like that. You just hit the button, it sends it out to your whole team, and it's very limited communication. That's a big thing I see people asking the developers, and truth be told, you don't need that. You don't need that with the HUD that we have and with basic game awareness. And so let me explain it to you. One of the biggest mistakes I see survivors making is who goes for the unhook. Okay, so we're gonna cover that first. In what situations should you be going for the unhook? In what situations is it somebody else's job? Just when to go for the unhook, okay? So let's say you have one person on hook and you got your other 3 teammates, 2 are on gens and 1 is healing themselves. Whose job is it to go for the unhook? Obviously the person who is healing themselves. And this applies to whatever they're doing. If they're healing themselves, cleansing a totem, Dolor Hex, opening a chest, I mean, there is nothing more important than your teammate getting off that hook besides doing a generator, okay? The only way to escape a trial is to complete 5 generators and then escape through the gates, excluding the hatch, of course. But the only way to escape in a winning situation is by completing 5 generators and getting out that door. There is no other way to do that. That means that doing generators is and always will be the main objective of survivors, okay? The whole reason that killers even have a chance to win games is because they force survivors into a secondary objective, which is unhooking each other, okay? Keeps you off of the main objective, which puts them in a winning position, okay? That is the entire reason that killers even have a chance to win any game of Dead by Daylight ever, okay? And knowing that the main objective, the most important thing to be doing is generators, there is no excuse for you not going for the unhook when you are not on a generator or in chase, okay? None. Nothing you are doing is more important than your teammate getting off that hook or you contributing to the progress of the game by doing a gen, period. Now that that's out of the way, okay, there are obviously more obscure situations in which, you know, you have 2 people sharing a gen, 1 person on a gen by themselves, and you got a teammate on the hook. Who would go for the unhook in that situation? One of the people on the shared gen, okay? There's no real way to communicate this in solo queue. Usually what I do, if I'm sharing a gen with somebody, I know it's going to be me or them that has to go for the unhook, I'll wait a little bit, see if they get off the gen. If they don't, I'll get off the gen and I'll go. Okay? If I get in chase on the way, the 2 remaining survivors are still on their generators. Whoever has less progress, okay? Whoever has less generator progress goes for that unhook, okay? So it's just, when it comes to unhooking survivors, it requires attention to the HUD, it requires game knowledge and game sense, but it doesn't require that much, okay? It's a simple screening of the HUD. A very simple screening, okay? Who's on a gen, who's doing what. Like, I was playing a game, this wasn't solo queue, I guess, but I was playing a game with my Swift earlier, and it was me, him, and 2 randoms. And in the end game, I was already dead, but my Swift was on a gen. One of the other survivors was on the hook, and the other one was healing themselves. And they were flaming my Swift in the endgame chat for being on a gen instead of going for the unhook. What kind of insanity? What world do we live in which that is his fault? Okay? Your heal is less important than your teammate being alive. Your dull totem is less important than your teammate being alive. Your chest opening is less important than your teammate being alive. Everything is less important than your teammate being alive, okay? Except for doing gens, period. Obviously, if you're in chase and you can't do it, you can't do it. Then it's somebody else's job, okay? But I've just seen too many scenarios recently where like, it was just, somebody died on hook because nobody was going for the unhook when it was their job, okay? There's one situation in which the person with the least progress does not have the responsibility to get the unhook, and that is when the person with the most progress is very, very close to being done with their gen. If they finish that gen right after that survivor gets hooked, they're no longer on a gen. It is now their job to go get the save, okay? And the other 2 would stay on their gens, okay? Of course, all of this assumes that your teammates are even doing gens to begin with, okay? I vividly remember this one game. This was several months ago at this point now. We were facing a nurse, and it was me and 3 randoms. I was solo queuing. I believe all 3 of them were playing together, though. And, and they made it abundantly clear that I did nothing the whole game, because I didn't get a single unhook that game. I didn't heal anyone. And you know what I did? All 5 generators. I did all 5 generators on the map. That is insane. Insane. I did all 5 gens on the map. And they were like teabagging me and clicking their flashlights at me in the gate at the end and told me that I didn't help. As if they would not have been in that doorway without me. And I will never understand it. I really won't, okay? The only thing more important than your teammate getting off that hook is a generator. If you're not doing a generator and you're not in chase, it is your job to go for the unhook, okay? I have various clips, okay, of just situations where it was like, okay, this person could have survived if you had just done what you were supposed to do. And people don't. They don't do what they're supposed to do. And so, like I said, all of this assumes that people are even doing gens to begin with, but you should be. It's the objective, okay? So, that is the, who goes for the unhook in solo queue explanation, okay? One of the next things I'd like to talk to you guys about is the perks that you should be running in solo queue. I see a lot of team-oriented perks and team-oriented builds that are really only good for full 4-man teams in solo queue, and that can be so detrimental. Like, so detrimental to your team, because there just aren't that many good perks to begin with, and then there are perks that are essential for solo queue. So there are 5 of those that I'm going to go over, starting with Bond, okay? Bond is almost essential in solo queue. I personally don't use it in solo queue just because I don't feel like I really have the leniency to take things in and out of my build right now due to the tunneling meta, but Bond is a wonderful choice for solo queue. What Bond does basically is it shows you the auras of all your teammates either within 32 or 36 meters. I'm not sure which one, but one of the 2. And so this can be really good if you have, if you insist on running other team-oriented perks. You gotta have Bond in solo queue. It's also good to know where your teammates are at so you can get a heal, or so you can work together on generators, things like that. It's just, it almost surpasses the need for any communication. It doesn't act as a total stand-in for communication, but it works, okay? It helps, okay? The next one is Deliverance, okay? Deliverance is also almost essential in solo queue, and I don't consistently use this in solo queue, but I do sometimes. And that is because, like I said in the first section where we talked about the lack of game sense and game awareness that your teammates tend to have in solo queue, Deliverance overtakes the need for that. Because what Deliverance does is if you get one safe hook rescue at any point in the game before you get hooked, you can now have 100% chance of unhooking yourself with success on your first hook. So it defeats the need, A, for your teammates to have to try to coordinate and who comes to get you, but it also allows your teammates to stay on gens. And this is why Deliverance is so good. Deliverance is the best survivor perk in the game. It's useful in teams as well, but it is especially useful in solo queue. Having the ability to unhook yourself in a situation where you lack communication with your teammates is very, very, very useful. Next is Kindred, and this is sort of similar to Deliverance, not in the sense that it's a similar perk, but it serves the same purpose. Kindred will show your teammates each other's auras, as well as the aura of the killer if they remain within 16 meters of your hook while you are on the hook. So, very good for solo queue. Once again, it overtakes the need to communicate who is coming for you. If anybody's coming for you, people can just look around and see, is anybody going for the survivor? They're not doing what they're supposed to do. Looks like I have to get off my jet and go save them. I mean, not that you should do that, but you know, Kindred is very, very helpful in that sense. It just communicates for your team who needs to come and get you. It has the upside also of showing you the aura of the killer when anybody else is on the hook, if the killer remains within 16 meters. So, very, very good. Next, we have Unbreakable, okay? For the same reason as Deliverance. Having Unbreakable makes it so that your teammates don't have to stop doing whatever they're doing to come and pick you up from the dying state if the killer is slugging you. It allows you to pick yourself up once for free per trial, and I believe you recover at 35%. Like, you recover 35% faster from the dying state, which remains even after you've picked yourself up. So that's pretty good. Unbreakable is very good for solo queue. It serves the same purpose as Deliverance, like I said. Just essentially makes it so that your teammates don't have to stop whatever they're doing to come and get you, and overtakes that need for communication. Like, oh, you know, Feng is coming to pick me up. She doesn't have to, because I can just pick myself up. And finally, we have Windows of Opportunity. I never used to run Windows. From the time I started playing this game up until, I believe, January, it is now April, I never used Windows, okay? Now that I've put it on, I genuinely don't think I could get by without it. It's just so essential for not just solo queue, but if you're simply not playing with a full 4-man, okay? Because even if you just have one random on your team, you never know how many pallets they're going to waste. And so Windows of Opportunity shows you any down pallets, up pallets, and vault locations within, I believe, 36 meters of you. 32 or 36, one of the two. Very, very useful for solo queue. You know which resources are still available to you, which, if you were playing with a full 4-man, could simply be communicated, but once again, you don't have that luxury if you're solo queuing, so I believe it to be almost essential in solo queue. And finally, I would like to talk about perks to avoid when you're solo queuing. Not perks that you should never use, not perks that are bad. All three of the perks that I'm going to talk about are very good perks. I guess I shouldn't say all three perks. We'll say that. The three perks I'm going to talk about, it's not that they're bad. They're not great either, but it's not that they're bad. It's just that they don't really have their place in solo queue, okay? And the first one, very, very good perk as it stands. I don't believe it has a place in solo queue, is Adrenaline, okay? I have never been a diehard Adrenaline fan. I've never really used it, partially because I've never played with a full 4-man, and I think that Adrenaline is especially, and almost exclusively, useful in a full 4-man due to the coordination that you can engage in surrounding the perk. You don't have that luxury when it comes to solo queuing, and so I feel like you see these really good, 4-mans where they all have adrenaline, and they coordinate it perfectly so that, one person or two people were on the gen, one was in chase, and one is waiting by the door, and the adrenaline pops. And they do this because, or they'll wait for their, person in chase to go down to pop it for adrenaline. Obviously, adrenaline received a small nerf as of late, and it's still not a bad perk. Definitely not as good as it was, and even more now almost necessary in a full 4-man, but not in solo queue. Not to say you can't or shouldn't run it when you're solo queuing, but it's not as useful as it could be. And there are just better options than adrenaline when it comes to solo queue. The second one, not a single perk, but a group of perks, and that is boon perks, okay? Boon perks, not all of them are god-awful. If you've seen my 18 Survivor perks worth running YouTube video that I released before this, then you know that the only boon perk I believe to be good, with a generous usage of that word, is exponential, okay? Circle of Healing, not very good. Shadow Step, not very good. It just, yeah. But if you're going to run boon perks, the place to do it is in a full 4-man, okay? I will be the first to say that while I do not believe Circle of Healing is a good perk, it can be very, very, very game-changing in a full 4-man team, okay? And the same is true of Exponential, the same is true of Shadow Step, the same is true of most boon perks, okay? But it's just not really worth running them if you're solo queuing, okay? Because not only do you have to spend the time blessing the totem, then you have to coordinate with people you can't talk to get the benefits out of that totem. Yes, people can see its aura, and with Circle of Healing, for instance, yes, they can see the auras of injured survivors, but in the times that I've seen Circle of Healing in my games where I was solo queuing, there will be somebody standing in Circle of Healing for like 3 or 4 minutes waiting for somebody to heal them instead of doing the objective, because that is how it is in solo queue. Like we went over in the first section, like people just don't do what they're supposed to do. They have no game awareness, no game sense, and so you cannot rely on them to use your boon totem to the best of its ability to maximize its efficiency. And I would say that boon perks are especially not worth running in solo queue. Has its place if you're playing with a full 4-man, can be good, not in solo queue. Once again, not to say that you can't run boon perks in solo queue, you just shouldn't. Okay, you just shouldn't. There are just so many better things that you could have in place of that. Not to mention that I've said this time and again, boon perks are not worth running at all, period, even in a full 4-man, if you are not using a full boon build, okay? The time investment that goes into blessing a totem only for the killer to have to engage in a 1-second interaction to get rid of that, and then, you just spend the rest of the game re-blessing either the same totem or different totems for 1 or 2 perks is insane, okay? It's mathematically inefficient. It's the opposite of beneficial to your team. You're essentially hurting your team at that point when you could just be doing gens or blessing totems over and over. It's a waste of time. The only situation in which I see it as a worthy time investment is when you have a full boon build, 4 boon perks, and that's it. Because at that point, you either play perkless or you invest the time in blessing the totems. I mean, at that point, I'm not encouraging running a full boon build, okay, but it's better than playing perkless, okay? So if you're gonna use boon perks in solo queue or in a full 4-man, let it be a full boon build, just for the love of God, please. Okay. Next, and finally, Reassurance, okay? Once again, not a terrible perk. It actually made my good list, but once again, it's a very generous list, and I would say Reassurance was one of the closest to not making the list. it's a decent perk, but I feel like the coordination required to get the required value out of, or I shouldn't say required value, the desired value out of Reassurance comes with that of a full 4-man. Okay, I have never seen Reassurance be used in a game-changingly positive way in solo queue. In fact, not that long ago, maybe like a month ago, I wasn't solo queuing, but I was playing with one other person, and then there were 2 randoms. And there was this Bill, okay? If this was you, I'm not trying to be mean, it was just really strange. There was this Bill that had Reassurance, and anytime anybody got hooked, even if he wasn't in chase, he wasn't doing a gen, he would come for the save, or at least that's what we thought. He would come to the hook for a save, instead reassure us, and then run away from the hook. And not come back until our timer was almost down. Okay, Reassurance is a coordination required perk for 4-mans in which camping is an issue. Okay, and for games in which camping is an issue. Alright, it has no place in solo queue. And I'm not saying that just because of that one game with that one Bill, but just because, like, once again, he lacked game sense, he lacked game awareness, and that is the majority of the problem when it comes to solo queue, is that your teammates lack game sense and game awareness. That's what we've been talking about from the start, and that is the problem with Reassurance, is that a lot of its users lack game sense and game awareness, okay? Obviously, I know that Reassurance procs no matter what. If you go in for the unhook, Reassurance is going to proc, but you don't just leave your teammate on the hook because you reassured them. If the killer's not camping, you don't need to use it, okay? Like, you don't need to get the value out of it that comes with the perk. All in all, I know solo queue can be hard. I know it's not half as fun as playing with friends. It's certainly not as easy. And playing with a full 4-man, or even just one other person, can have serious benefits. But not everybody's so lucky. Some people got into the game because they saw a clip of it one day or something, and they don't have anybody to play with. And so I hope that this very brief little tutorial of solo queue, you know, what perks to bring, what perks not to bring, how to read the HUD, it's all very important. I've had far too many games recently where I'll be on a gen, my Swift will be on a gen, somebody will be on the hook, and then the random is doing nothing. And by nothing, I don't mean like cleansing a dual totem or opening a chest. I mean actually nothing. Like nothing that would show up on the HUD. And they don't go for the unhook. And just like, not only do you have to be able to read the HUD, but you have to have the basic level of game sense and awareness that it takes to play this game. Because even if you were playing with a full 4-man, for a lot of these solo queue players, even if you were playing with a full 4-man, the lack of game sense and awareness would still get to you. Okay? Not to say that everybody lacks game sense and awareness. I've played some actually very good solo queue games recently, as well as some very bad ones. But it's very basic stuff, and I hope that this video assisted you in the way that maybe you needed or wanted. If you guys have any other questions about solo queue, it's almost the entirety of my playing experience, so I'm sure I could answer. If you want me to make like a part 2 of this kind of video, like other things about solo queue to cover, I'd be happy to do it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe, follow my other socials, and give this video a like. Have a great day. Bye, guys.